Hey guys, Adrian here from the Digital Dojos. I know it's been a really long time. It's been a while, not a tremendously long time, but been super busy. So just really quick catch up. I just graduated high school about 3 days ago. So yeah, really awesome on that fact. And it's been a big transition, obviously with the whole graduating week. But beyond that, there's a lot of preparation leading up to that. I also had to obviously, make the big transition into that. Now I am full-time, kind of self-employed, as you will. So there's going to be a lot of big things changing, a lot more content being pushed out. Anyways, I just wanted to get that out the way. I'll probably link to a blog post that I'm going to be working on my personal site, adrianc.me, if you want to check that out. Anyways, I want to talk today about WWDC, the Worldwide Developer Conference. I want to do a full recap and overview, as I always do, following the event. I just watched the event in its entirety. I watched it live. I watched it prior to them releasing the keynote because I like to watch it without lag or anything like that in good quality. So WWDC, for those who don't know, is a worldwide developer conference. Apple holds this every year for mainly developers to kind of showcase the latest upgrades in the software, what's to come in the iterations of desktop and mobile software, and they tend to do a little bit of hardware releases and upgrades at this event since, it's a lot of press. Now, this WWDC 2013 in particular was a really big one in my opinion for Apple, for the public. A lot of people just kind of talked about this, and let me go ahead and mute my audio here so you guys don't hear that. But it was a really big event in the fact that this was Apple's kind of time to show the world, like, that we have something new, that we can innovate, that we are still in the game. See, Apple has been kind of at the top of its industry and technology, mainly that of mobile, but also on the rise kind of for OS 10 and their Mac and their desktop. But this was kind of the keynote where they kind of had to show that, prior to these events, Apple was really dominating the competition. Up until, this around 2012, 2013, or Android, even Windows, mainly Android, Windows, some other parties kind of started to make a really big push towards Apple's competition. So stuff like Android really rose up in the scene. Their phones, the Galaxy phones, a lot of those stuff really kind of showed Apple some competition, and it was Apple's kind of time to return and show them that, we can innovate, we can do a lot of, great things. And I think Apple really, in my opinion, personal opinion, as a technology enthusiast and all that, really showed that, this is the new Apple. And the way they approach a lot of things. So let's go ahead and jump right in here. So first off, I want to talk about iOS 7. iOS 7 is the latest mobile platform coming to that of the iPhone. It is the latest, or iPhone, iPod, iPad. It is the latest in the series. It's going to be coming out later in the fall. I actually have we have a developer account, so I'm going to be getting early access. I'm going to be doing a sole video on iOS 7. And I may have an interesting way if those who aren't developers are interested in getting a copy of iOS 7 early on. I'll be talking about that in a whole separate video. Anyways, iOS 7, the latest addition to that of obviously their mobile operating system. Now, this is a big change in that of its post kind of Steve Jobs era. After Jobs left, Jobs and Forstall were kind of the head guys, and really, not a fan, more of a fan of the old kind of design that Apple used, not of the schemorphic design, the leather-bound calendar, the green felt, all that stuff. Now, with Forstall out, with Cook at the helm, Johnny Ive took over for that of the design team. And this keynote really showcased that Johnny Ive can lead a software team just as well as he leads a hardware team. I personally really enjoy iOS 7. The new design, it's a really refreshment for iOS while keeping the same familiarity. I think one key words I always said about iOS is that familiarity is also a function. People know how to use iOS, whether they're young, they're old. A majority of people really know how to use iOS because it's unified. That's one thing Apple's done really well. Android, it's usable, but in the fact that there's even things I can't personally guide through in Android, so I don't understand how the common user will guide through. Not to say that Android, and the problem with Android is there's still fragmentation that exists. I think Nexus, the whole Nexus line, is something that's really great, and that's something that's going to kind of bridge that gap. But there's still a fragmentation that exists within Android where people kind of know how to use it on this skin, but they don't know how to do it on this, so on and so forth. With iOS 7, they did a lot of new things, and yes, it's going to be a mixed bag of, what people think about it. The icons are a little bit, not dodgy, but some people are going to have issues with that. It's more of a flat design. That's what they really, sold it as, a flat design. But I really like it. It's more modern. It's more up to date, and it's new. They added a couple things here. I'm not gonna go through everything. I'm just gonna kind of hit them in some points here. Control center, basically that of something that's been on Android for quite a while. I'm a jailbreak user. That's something I've had for a while. Really nice. Have quick toggles to certain settings. They updated notification center. I really like how they did that. True multitasking has now been integrated. iTunes Radio is now a part of the iPod music app. This is really cool. It allows you to stream. I believe it's free. If it's free, it's free with ads supported. If you are not an iTunes Match subscriber, basically it's a way to recommend music, kind of build itself around music that you own from iTunes, stuff like that. So it really is. I think it'll be a big hit. I really like the new Photos app. Much more organized. They added things like moments, collections. I think this is just way, way, way more organized than the traditional camera roll. AirDrop, that's a nice feature. If you're a Mac user, you know about that. Basically, you can easily share files instantly between devices here. They updated the camera app. I really like where they went with this. They added more features and stuff like that while keeping the UI simple. I really like how they did with this UI here. Safari's got some major updates in terms of speed and just UI performance here. Kind of different with the icons. It's a little bit different here, but again, it's going to take getting used to. Siri got some big improvements. You have this live wave audio bar now. But just along with that, it has more recognition for stuff like Wikipedia, other engines, stuff like that. The Mail app. I like where they went with this. It's matching more of that theme that matches Safari, iMessages, this kind of blue and white, really flat, really simple. I really like where they went with this. I'm a huge fan lately of the really just simplistic design. I want to be able to get in and get out. And with iOS 7, I think they really brought a new design that really gives the phone a whole new feel, but it is that same old phone. You have weather here. You have iMessages. Again, overall, I really think iOS 7 is going to be a big hit, and I think it hits on a lot of major things. I don't really, if there's anything, a couple things I don't like the Game Center app as much. That's kind of, a whole new different spin on that. And again, it's all about trial and error. I think they need to do a little bit more in terms of customization. They did a lot of cool things with like the wallpaper. You can have a perspective, the parallax thing where you can kind of move your phone around and it adjusts as you move your phone around. Stuff like that's cool. And I think they showed that they can really present some new stuff here. Now moving on, OS X Mavericks. This is really interesting. I'm not sure if I wasn't a huge fan of the name scheme at first, but it does make sense since Apple is a California-based company. They're founded, the root of California, Silicon Valley, all that good stuff. They're going with the next 10 years. They've left the cat naming scheme, and they're going with that of places in California, which is very, very interesting. It's definitely a new refresh from that of the typical like 1, 2, 3 release. So this is the next big release of OS X, and I'm really excited for this. This is not necessarily a whole new OS X in the fact where you kind of went from like leopard to lion, stuff like that. It focuses more on improving performance, battery life, all of that, while adding some new functionality. And I think that some of the features it hits on here, one of the main ones I want to talk about, multiple displays. This is one that has been really, really needed, I think, in my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and jump to that. Multiple displays here. They've done a really great job in fixing this. I really, really hated the way Apple previously dealt with multiple displays on Mountain Lion. I think this is a really, really nice way. You can use one display in its entirety with a full screen while your other display is still fully functional rather than it being totally useless. You can do this with AirPlay display. They did a really great job with this, and I think it's really going to be great for people who use multiple displays for productivity, all of that good stuff. iCloud keychain, basically, to sum this up, this is kind of like 1Password. They kind of did a lot of things where they kind of took these services that are so popular out there and kind of made their own and baked it into the operating system. Think of iCloud keychain as your passwords everywhere you go. It's encrypted, built into your OS X, and I'm sure this will kind of go across with that of iOS. They're bridging that gap. They're definitely taking the gap of OS X and iOS and pushing them more together so that people who use iOS will know how to use their Mac. People who use their Mac will be familiar with that functions on their iOS device, and they can easily sync between them. And that's definitely how the whole ecosystem should work. Safari got a lot of, again, performance upgrades. It's faster, and that's, it has a little bit of UI changes, but the gist of it is it's faster. Calendar, again, that new skeuomorphic design's kind of gone. The maps, again, really simple design. Sorry if you guys can hear that airplane in the background. It's really loud. A lot of different advanced technologies, and it's still going on. Finder basically got a whole new redesign. If you've ever used Pathfinder for OS X, and I'm a huge fan of Pathfinder, basically they took Pathfinder and integrated it into their default Finder, and it's about time. I guess that kind of sucks for Pathfinder. but it integrates stuff like tags, tab searching within Finder. Again, something that's really needed just to make it easier browsing your files, all of that good stuff, and a whole bunch of other different advanced technologies. It's faster, it's better on energy saving. I think these are just it's really going to bring a whole new feel, not a whole new feel exactly to OS 10. There's not a revolutionary new feature. It's more not just under the hood stuff, just stuff that makes it easier to navigate, easier to browse your files, easier overall, with a small kind of new feel. And I really think OS 10 Mavericks is going to be a nice new iteration to that of the Macs that are up and coming. Now the Mac Pro. This is something that's really interesting. I think this really showed Apple This showed a couple things with Apple here. This just showed that, one, as Phil Schiller said at the event, that they can still innovate. I really find that a lot of people thought they were going to drop the Mac Pro line, and this is the future of the Pro desktop. It's coming later this year. It has a really interesting design here. So they went definitely smaller. It reminds me a lot of the G4 Cubes design, a really ominous, dark, but sleek, professional-looking machine here. It's a sphere. It's kind of like a sphere shape here, so a circle. You can see here they pack a ton of power in this new structure here. 12-core processors, 40 gigabytes with PCIe bandwidth. Ridiculous stuff here. They have the dual GPU standards. This is the first kind of Mac with that dual GPU standard, so that's up to 7 teraflops of computing power. You can see the comparison in GPU performance with that of the current Mac Pro. This really appealed to that of the power users. I think a lot of people thought that Apple really neglected their power users and were kind of moving more to the route of, if you want a really powerful machine, go with the MacBook Pro. This is for the people, the video editors, the power, the people who are doing a lot of video heavy work, graphic intensive work, maybe CAD, animation, all that good stuff. And this gives them a really powerful desktop and a sleek form factor. Now, the only thing, I like how they went with this new kind of unified design, this thermal core design, so it's cooling, and it releases the cooling through one breakthrough fan, as they call it here. Really awesome design. The only thing I don't like, I think with the Pro users, I talked to a couple people about this. If you're buying a workstation machine like this, you don't necessarily care for the size and that you're buying a workhorse. You're buying something maybe for the work environment, maybe for your house even. I mean, this is an ideal machine I'd love to get, but I'm sure this will be roughly priced $2,500 baseline. You don't necessarily care for that. If you're getting the current Mac Pro, you're getting a beast of a machine because you want something, one, that you can get into the internals and upgrade as time goes on, because this is going to be a machine that you want to put new GPUs in, you want to upgrade the RAM, all of that good stuff. I'm sure they're going to, Apple isn't famous for making their design so accessible in terms of certain stuff within certain Macs. But with their Mac Pro series, when they originally did that, they did a really good job of making it easy to upgrade. I think they'll definitely do the same with this. I just don't like, this is like what they talked about, like 1/8 the size of the original Mac Pro right now. It's really small. The only reason I don't like when companies tend to go small, as with the next iteration, you kind of either have to go smaller or do something just as big. You don't usually typically see Apple go smaller and then go bigger. They did that with the iPod Nano, I think, or the Shuffle. But again, with computers, you don't typically see them go to a bigger form factor following them releasing something like this. Anyways, it's coming out later this year. This is just a sneak peek, but I really am interested in seeing the finalized Mac Pro. Next up, the MacBook Air, thin and light and same design with tons of big performance upgrades here, and I think this is going to go nicely with that of OS 10 Mavericks. Basically, they've adopted the new Haswell chips, so you got those new Intel Haswell chips in here. That one of the big things that these new Intel chips do is that of battery life. The new battery life on the 11-inch is now up to 9 hours from, I believe, 7 hours. And the 13-inch, or 12-inch, 13-inch has now 12 hours of battery life. So that's all-day battery life. Really amazing. Now, obviously, we're going to have to see tests about this. It all depends on usage and all of that, of course, and what you're doing with it. But this is a really solid machine. I think the MacBook Airs have really started to find their place in the market as of recently. A lot of people, if you don't want that super powerful MacBook Pro, the MacBook Airs are still really powerful. You can get a really powerful MacBook Air to do basic things like Photoshop, browsing, documents, all of that good stuff. And the thing with the MacBook Air, they're just a really sleek, portable form factor. And now this all-day battery life, this is just going to make it that much more of a powerful machine. They've also updated support for 802.11ac. This is basically the next generation of wireless. They've doubled the flash storage. I really like how they went with SSDs, and they kept it at a really good price. This is actually personally a machine I'm thinking about picking up. That was just released today, actually. So you can get it for, let me just jump into back to the prices here. I believe it's $999 the base model, if I'm not mistaken. $999 for the basic 11-inch, and then what do you call that? Yeah, 13-inch starts at $1,100. I think it's a really solid price for a really portable yet powerful machine now that has that much more battery life, that much more, it's the same portability, I believe, in terms of weight and all that, but just all that much more power and a really great form factor. I talked about iTunes Radio. Basically, again, hear the music you like. This is just interesting because there's a lot of talk about Apple doing this for a while, but what gives Apple a huge advantage in this is it knows what you like already, especially if you're buying all your music off of iTunes or you're storing all your music in iTunes, iCloud, etc. It can tell kind of stations that you'd like based off of music that you're already playing, that you own. You can set your own rules. You can take requests via Siri, all of this really good stuff. I think it's just a really great way to integrate, and obviously their end game is to have it, if you really enjoy songs, you can buy it directly from their iTunes collection. So again, there's not much to be said that. It's a streaming music service, essentially. Another big thing they did here, it was kind of under the radar, but iWork for iCloud beta. Basically, this is coming this fall. This is browser-based iWork, so you can use it on a PC now. So you can use iWork within a PC or on any of your other Macs via a web browser, be it your phone, your Mac, your PC. Basically, you have Pages, Keynote, and Numbers all accessible in the cloud now. So this is kind of a move towards things like Google Drive, what they're doing, Google Docs, and everything is kind of going to the cloud. And I think this shows that Apple is kind of adapting to that scenario here. And this also opens up iWork. For many of those who are really jealous of iWork on Windows, well, now you can use it over, I really prefer like something like Keynote over PowerPoint, and this allows me to use that on a Windows-based machine here. They also hinted at later iWork finally getting its upgraded suite later in the year, so that's also interesting to see. Now, a couple under the radar things, they also released the Airport Extreme, so this is something we're going to be seeing here. This is their new base station. This is really interesting. This is something I was interested in picking up. They have the time capsule, all of that good stuff. It has a weird kind of form factor design. This is something that it's like literally tall. You can see, I don't know how tall it is, maybe the same height here as my microphone, but this really shows kind of that new design, I think, from Apple. It kind of reminiscent of that of how they did the Mac Pro here. This kind of tall standing shape. They said this design helps in that of providing faster and better connection. You can see design with performance in mind here. You can see a top-down approach that leaves a smaller footprint, but at the same time allows for better range for the Wi-Fi, all of that good stuff here. This is really interesting. Again, you can see, they have some awesome charts here. This is something that, it's not one of those big products, but it is one of those things, if you're already in the Apple ecosystem, it's nice because it allows you to have really easy connection, compatibility, connect your Apple family of devices, essentially, all to this one hub. So this is just one thing that also kind of got released on the side that many people didn't know about, and it's actually already available. And this is, again, adapting that 802.11 AC. Now, this is going to be this is a faster spectrum of Wi-Fi, but the thing about 802.11 AC is you're going to obviously, I think it's like up to 2 gigabits of transfer or something like that. It's obviously going to all depend on what you're getting from your ISP. So even though you may have 802.11 AC, the transfer rates may not be as great, depending, it really depends on that of your ISP at the end of the day. But yeah, that is WWDC 2013 in a nutshell. I know this kind of went on long here, but this is my one video I do every year, obviously. I'm really, really excited in that of Apple, and I'm running a full write-up on this entitled, "This is our signature, this is a new Apple." And what I mean by that, if you saw their ads, they talked about this is our signature. They talked about design, and I think one thing Apple, Jobs, Ive, all of them at Apple really believed, and I can't personally say this, but I can see this from the way they talked, things I've studied. Design to Apple, especially Jobs, he knew design in the sense it's more than a look and feel. It's not just about how the aesthetics of a product is. It's how the product works. It's not about simplifying in the sense of just taking away everything, but what needs to be left, and to make it more of an efficient use. A phone, a laptop, software, whatever it is. I think with this, they showed that they can really, they showed that Ive can run a software team. That's one big thing. They showed that Ive had a real great success at taking iOS and making it something different in this midst of modern UIs, Androids, Samsung Galaxies, all these phones. It shows that it can compete in that market. OS 10 Mavericks shows a new, iteration of OS 10 and a whole new line to come. Mac Pro shows something that's assembled here in the US of A. It's something that they're assembling, built in California. Designed in California, built in the USA. it shows that they can do something totally different, totally off the ball. A lot of people weren't expecting that new Mac Pro design to even be released, but they did give you a sneak peek. The MacBook Airs, I think they're unifying their line more and more as it goes along here. So, personally, I think Apple did a really great job at this WWDC keynote. They got a lot of talk, building up with OS 10, going into iOS, talking about their latest upgrades. They did a really great job. I think they personally showed the media, the public, that they can still innovate. They can still make really great new things, and they can really go outside the box in terms of products. Now, yes, Android has been doing some of these things. Other companies have been doing some of these things, but this was Apple's make or break keynote. I really think this could have pushed a lot of people over to that of Android or other markets, etc. If Apple didn't do something to kind of refresh their line, and I think they did a really good job of that. Anyways, guys, the full write-up will be over at digitaldojos.com. Love to hear your guys' responses. Thank you very much if you made it all the way to the end of this video. Leave comments below. Video responses are always welcomed. Thank you all for watching.